Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our From the Field Farm Chat with Idaho Wheat today. Thank you all for joining us today. We are excited to have you and excited to have our speaker today. Before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that questions and comments are welcome. So please unmute your microphone. You can raise your hand or post a comment or question in the chat, and I will make sure that we get that asked and answered for you. Today we are very excited to have Dr. Senay Simsek here with us. Dr. Simsek is the head of food science department at Purdue University. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about wheat, facts about wheat, some myths about wheat, and some other exciting information that Dr. Simsek has to share with us. So before we get started, Dr. Simsek, would you mind just giving us a brief background about who you are and what you do?
Hi, Ryan, and good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to talk about wheat. It's my favorite crop, and I always enjoy talking about wheat. So it's going to be a very enjoyable time for me. Little bit background about myself. I'm originally from Turkey, as you mentioned. I'm currently head of the food science department at Purdue University, also professor of food and grain chemistry, and I also serve as the dean's chair in food science. Before I joined Purdue, I completed my PhD at Purdue Food Science, actually. So before I joined Purdue, a little over 4 years ago, I spent over a decade at North Dakota State University as wheat quality specialist. And I moved to Purdue in June 2021. And my research background is how chemical composition of wheat, such as protein, starch, or fiber, they affect the wheat quality and end-use applications, processing, and also how it supports human health. And in my career, I very closely work with US Wheat Associates, state wheat commissions, wheat boards, and bringing science into practical problem solving, not only domestic, but also at international level. I have traveled for US Wheat multiple times as part of the crop quality seminars or for specialty trips, for workshops and special seminars. So thank you.
Thank you. So let's just dive right into it. Can you tell us, wheat is such a cornerstone crop that many people kind of underestimate, both domestically and globally. Can you tell us why it's so important to understand and know that wheat is still such an important cornerstone crop?
Yes, yeah, thank you. Wheat is truly a global grain, and it's grown in many countries. I know the one from US is very special, but it's grown in many other countries, and it's one of the highly consumed cereal grains. So why it matters and why it is so important is because of a unique protein. Everybody knows gluten. So wheat is the only crop that has that unique protein, and it's very versatile protein. You can do so many different products using wheat, and breads, noodles, pastries, tortilla, biscuits, couscous. The list goes on and on. So because of the uniqueness of gluten proteins in wheat and how it traps the gas in these products, it makes wheat very unique in terms of applications, and why consumers all around the world, they want to eat wheat-based products. But then on the side, we know that it has great nutritional profile. Another important reason why wheat is so important is because of the food security perspective. And wheat is critical because it provides not just the calories, but also protein, fiber, micronutrients that are extremely essential for our diet. So in many parts of the world, wheat is the primary protein source. When you say protein, people always think about meat or dairy. They are protein sources, but in many parts of the world, wheat is the primary protein source. And because we can store, ship, and it could be global trade, and it's actually a food safety net for feeding large populations. So this is why wheat is so important.
There are different classes of wheat, Dr. Simsek. Can you tell us how different classes of wheat and the proteins contribute to these different food products?
Yes. So for different classes of wheat, each country or each region, they might have different definition of wheat class. So for United States, we have 6 different wheat classes in the market, and the classification is based on the season we harvest them, and in color and hardness. So for high protein and very strong gluten, hard red spring wheat is one of the wheat classes. The other one is for, again, relatively higher protein and lots of different applications, broad range of applications is hard red winter wheat. And we have the soft wheat classes, soft white and soft red. Again, soft white is it's very unique for certain type of cake applications and pastry applications. And we have hard white that mostly stays in the domestic market, but there is a demand, especially for noodle applications. And the last one is the durum wheat. It's actually the hardest wheat class, and it has very unique yellow pigment. That's why it's giving the pasta unique firmness and golden color. So over the years, I have worked with different classes of wheat, and the US wheat market is designed and structured in a way that it addresses main needs of the US wheat customers from all the way Asia to Africa. And so there are different types of wheat for different types of applications. And these are the 6 main classes we have in the US.
With Idaho is able to grow 5 of the 6 classes of wheat. I read that you have done structure function studies that you showing that even within a class, protein compositions and starches will vary. Can you talk about how those protein compositions and starches vary with these different classes of wheat?
Yes. So for hard wheat classes, hard red spring, I mean, I did most of my work with hard red spring wheat and very little with winter wheat, hard red winter wheat. So for hard wheat applications, we want to have very strong gluten profile and high water absorption. So it can hold the gas that is produced during fermentation process, even in very challenging conditions during the bread processing. Or I usually use the pizza as a great example, because if you go to different countries, pizza tastes different. But when you make a slice of pizza, you want to make sure you extend the pizza when you make the roll. If it is too strong and you have that undesirable balance of gluten forming proteins, it can shrink back. But then if the gluten is not strong enough, when you have all these delicious toppings on the pizza, everything can just fall apart when you are holding the slice. So we need to have that nice balance of different types of gluten forming proteins. Those are so important for hard wheat classes. So we want to have strong gluten, high water absorption. The higher the protein is better, but the quality of the protein is so important that I guess we will elaborate a little shortly. These are for salt wheat classes. We still need the protein, but we want more extensible and like little softer, mellower protein. And starch is very important for salt wheat applications, because for rising the cake, that nice soft texture. And also for cookie, we want to have that nicely extended cookie. You don't want to have very high cookie height. So each class of wheat is bred and raised for these different applications. And one class may not be ideal for bread baking, but I know it's going to be great for cake and cookie baking. So these are main differences, the end use applications, and US wheat industry has been investing on the research and breeding programs for those targeted properties. I didn't talk so much about the Arabian Islands for your questions like fiber. The dietary fiber is very important for human health, and the main fiber source for wheat is we call them pentothans or arabinoxylans. So wheat is very rich on those compounds, and they serve as dietary fiber. And usually, typically, hard wheat classes they have higher arabinoxylan content, fiber content.
Speaking of health benefits of wheat, and a more common question that is in the media, health influencers, social media influencers, from a nutrition perspective, what are the most important health benefits of consuming wheat?
Okay. One of the major benefits of wheat, it's actually a complete balance of protein, carbohydrates. We have also micronutrients, minerals we need for our diet. It's also rich in dietary fiber, again, vitamins and bioactive compounds. So, and also, especially if we consume in the whole wheat form, we are gonna get more dietary fiber because they are mainly focused on the bran portion of the wheat grain. And if you look at I have more passion for dietary fiber and arabinoxylans, so I'm going to elaborate a little more on that, but we can talk more on the protein aspect too. For dietary fiber slash arabinoxylans, there are tremendous amount of research recently on how they help for gut microbiome. Now everybody talks about how we can have a healthy digestive system, but it has been shown that wheat arabinoxylans are acting as prebiotics and supporting the beneficial gut microorganisms in our digestive tract. And there are lots of research about how arabinoxylans are helping controlling the blood sugar levels, which actually contributes reducing the risk of chronic conditions like type 2 diabetes. And in the past, we have done some studies on how we can maintain the arabinoxylan functionality, not only for processing, but also for maintaining the health benefits once consumed by human. And there are also some studies about consuming high dietary fiber is helping with colon cancer uh, prevention. So those are some of the good traits about dietary fiber. Again, I haven't covered even phenolic compounds or different type of proteins, but the protein is also very unique in the wheat in terms of having some of the essential amino acids that we cannot take from food. We have to consume with the food. So wheat proteins are giving us a very good source and good quality of the protein, so we can digest and use it fully in our body.
There are, and I'm sure you're familiar with some of the theories going around about wheat health and wheat nutrition. For example, Make America Healthy Again, social media influencers again, there's a lot of conversation around wheat and health. Can you name one or two myths or misconceptions that you'd like to address that you're seeing that we can talk about here and maybe clarify?
Yeah, absolutely. This could be a whole another podcast, Ryan, if you want, because sometimes I even get a little emotional about how wrong information is shared with the public. So one of the misconceptions are is wheat is bad, and if you consume wheat products, you will have mental health problems. And there is I unfortunately contributed sales of those books because I had to read it so we can um, say that this information is wrong. But there is some wheat bread is evil or wheat belly. There are some books on the market, and they have the wrong and non-science based information. Because one of the misconceptions is wheat is bad, and it's considered healthy if you eat gluten free. I absolutely disagree with this statement. If you have the wheat allergies and celiac disease, which is a very valid, relevant problem. It's like you have peanut allergies, do not eat peanut. If you have soybean allergies, don't eat, soy-based food products. So if you have the celiac disease or wheat allergy, please do not consume wheat. I mean, I don't want them to consume wheat, but it's a very low population. It's 0.5%, less than 1% of population, they have this condition. But if you look at the gluten-free market and how it exploded and how it is sold as healthy option, it's wrong, because wheat is very versatile crop that you can do so many different food products from wheat. So it's not going to make you sick or have the mental problems, or it's not going to make you obese. Unless you eat 100 pounds of wheat every day, but if you eat 100 pounds of meat, people can get obese too. So there is always that life, how much you want to consume when. But there were also other misconceptions about, so one is the nutrition aspect. It is a healthy crop with no poisonous compounds. So just eat as regular portions and you will be healthy actually. And it is nutritionally complete. The second misconception is modern wheat varieties are toxic and they are full of toxic peptides. This is why, and I don't know, I see Jim Peterson on the call. Is this the Jim Peterson who is breeder? Or the Jim?
Yes.
Okay, the other Jim Peterson is North Dakota Wheat Commission. So I know him from I have known him for a long time. So some of the misinformation is they are blaming breeding programs, bringing these toxic genes into the wheat, and modern wheat is toxic. So because of that, we have done some studies on screening wheat varieties that they have been released more than 100 years time span. And so we designed the study in a way that people do not accuse, it's not the genetics, because this wheat was from 100 years ago grown in the field. So we took these wheat varieties and they were grown in the same soil conditions with the modern varieties, in the same environment, same soil. So the only difference is coming from genetics. That's how the studies were designed. And we screen for presence of celiac disease causing peptides, their concentration, because we know the structures. And then also we compared for chemical composition. And actually, the celiac disease causing peptides, they have been there always, even in the very old varieties. We just didn't have technology to screen them. And the breeding programs are not responsible for everybody having the celiac disease or all these problems. And actually, breeding programs help farmers for higher yielding varieties and better quality proteins and all of that. So these are some misconceptions about wheat. And as a cereal science community, actually, we had a white paper. Everybody came together and responded one by one those false claims.
So, Dr. Simsek,
Yes.
Sorry, Ryan, I have a question. For people who say, you've addressed that just now, that people who say, well, I can eat ancient grains and it doesn't hurt my stomach, or, I'm fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
What is your answer to people who say, why has there been an increase in wheat, negative wheat reactions in the gut, whether it's an intolerance or actually celiac disease, whatever it is? Why has that increased over the past 30 or 40 years?
So this is my personal opinion, and there might be, another serious scientist might say something different. But my perception is how the fermentation and bread processing change over the time. So what I hear sometimes is if I use traditional yeast fermentation, or there are different types of making commercial bread, as sponge and dough method, straight dough method, and sourdough. So sometimes I hear that if the bread is prepared using the sourdough method with no yeast, it's natural microorganisms or a sourdough fermentation, longer fermentation, they don't have any problems. And with ancient grains, so my speculation is the fermentation process and how some of those compounds produced or maybe consumed during the fermentation process by the yeast versus the microorganisms. Those are, we haven't, again, I think 30 minutes is not enough, Ryan, but there is another compound everybody's studying is FODMAP. It's fermented oligosaccharides, disaccharides, and if you have a sensitive gut tissue, and if we have those compounds in the sample, then you feel discomfort and you feel a little gassy, and you feel like if you eat bread, it makes you feel little sick. It's because you have a sensitive gut tissue. So if with the sourdough fermentation, we know that those compounds are fermented and consumed by the microorganisms, then you don't feel that same effect. So again, it's not the wheat per se, but the fermentation and what type of ingredients added into the bread baking process, to me, is the main reason how people, again, this is outside of celiac disease and the wheat allergenetic. We call it non-celiac wheat sensitivity. Actually, we have it's public information. We have a pending USDA grant. Currently, we are doing the research. It's I know about non-celiac wheat sensitivity and how we can help food industry and baking industry with that. Is if we develop new yeast strains that they can also consume those compounds during fermentation process. And this is what USDA funded us at Purdue to develop that yeast strain. So I'm collaborating, I am co-PI in that grant, but collaborating with one of the scientists here. He's doing that research with me. Mm-hmm.
A question from the chat, Dr.
Sure.
Simsek. Are there enzymes or chemical modifications that can reduce wheat sensitivities?
Enzymes that we can use during the baking process as an ingredient to control the wheat sensitivity. And we will still maintain the functionality. If I am not aware of any chemicals, so I think enzymes might be a better strategy. Is why? Because enzymes, we call them processing aids, and they just denature during the baking process, and you don't have to list enzymes as an ingredient when you are making a bakery product. So if the sensitivity is coming from FODMAP, I wonder if we add some enzymes that they can help. If the sensitivity is coming from some of the proteins, then we might need to add some protease enzymes. So answer is, I don't know any chemicals. There might be some enzymes, but I need to do a little more research or little more information. What is the reason?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah, that's understandable. With everything you've said so far regarding wheat nutrition and wheat health, the aspects and responding to concerns over wheat sensitivity are complex. In your opinion, how can the wheat industry better message the value and benefits of wheat to the general public?
I think education is very important. So just like this podcast, how come the way those book writers, they talk about wheat is evil, bread is evil, wheat belly, they are on TV and they talk about all this information. I think education is very important, especially for young generation. And So I know in Southeast Asia, I attended some programs like Wheat School, and they were talking about benefits of wheat-based products, even in elementary school level. So that's the plants are seeded at very early age that wheat is good. Education might be an opportunity, and like when we had those, there were some claims about modern wheat varieties are toxic. The Wheat Commission, I was in North Dakota State back then, and North Dakota State University, and North Dakota Wheat Commission funded the research, and we were able to claim those, disprove that those claims were incorrect, and those were published in peer-reviewed journals with the science-based information. We had proteomics data. We said, this is our data. So like investing on research, I know it's bad. Somebody just say something nonsense, and the wheat farmers are paying checkoffs to on research to say this is
Right.
wrong. But I think that information was very good, because I had many, like press releases or some articles that we have proved these claims were wrong. So communication, investing on research, and I had some comments about in some of my presentations, thinking outside of the box and making the wheat future proof, and maybe be ready for some of those claims ahead of time, and have the data available for before the claim shows up, and be strategic about this. And I think Wheat World, we are doing this so well as taking the holistic approach and working together. I know wheat boards or wheat commissions with the wheat farmers. We work with university professors, and we, as I always call myself, as a bridge between end users and the breeding programs. So we know what end users want, and we pass that message to breeding programs. And taking the holistic approach and working as a team with good leadership, I think those might be great approaches.
Another question in from the chat. It says, I've had the opportunity to visit many mills in primarily poorer countries where they are using a lot of chemical additives in the flour to improve the quality of some lower quality black sea wheat. Have any studies been done on the health effects of these additives?
So yes, I done those myself. It's like how those chemicals affect the human health. I don't directly do research on that myself, because I am in the food chemistry and different end. But we have done some studies on clean label with like US wheat, and actually, if you are using high quality wheat from US, you don't need to use all these chemicals. And we have done those studies and show the strong quality of the US wheat, and don't buy those chemicals. Just use the US wheat as is, and it's going to be a little more expensive, but in the long run, you are providing high quality flour to your consumers. That is the uniqueness of US wheat, actually. We do not sacrifice the quality, even though maybe it's going to be higher yield or something else. The importance on quality is worldwide recognized in many countries. So I want to focus on the question again. There are studies published. Yes, those chemicals are bad for human health. And I have given some presentations in the past that US wheat is serving the quality. You don't need to add those chemicals. And these are the side effects of those chemicals.
You mentioned, Dr. Simsek, that first and foremost, your focus is on quality.
Mm-hmm.
So just in the last few minutes we have here, what advice would you give to our wheat growers to keep Idaho wheat and US wheat in general competitive around the globe?
And again, I am in the quality, wheat quality world, and I'm going to say first and foremost, please let's keep focusing on the quality. That's what sets the US wheat apart from all the other countries in the global market. Again, in the world where buyers can source actually wheat from many different countries, maybe in cheaper rates, it's maybe logistics, but the consistency and the performance of US wheat that keeps the customers coming back over and over again to US wheat. They know they can rely on US farmers for high quality wheat. And also to protect that advantage, as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, we need to make wheat future proof. So we need to make sure that we can anticipate where the market is headed. So we need to keep an eye on all the consumers, what are their demands, what are the trends, and how they might demand for higher nutritional value, or they might demand for cleaner clean label products, or maybe more sustainable production, so better functional performance. So we have to make sure that US wheat is delivering all of those. So we can't do all of these without investing in research. I strongly suggest please keep investing on research, so that research helps breeding programs to develop future varieties that meets customer expectations. So I'm not going to say those banned words like we need to make sure the wheat is going to adapt the changes in environmental conditions. And so listening the millers, bakers, food manufacturers, what do they want? And also what are the new applications? I know we consume, it's a staple food. We can have lots of different products, but recently I have given some presentations on the big demand in the plant-based proteins. How wheat can take the position in the plant-based protein market, because we know gluten in wheat is so unique. There is no protein in any other plant that has the similar, that this viscoelastic properties we call. You can make a nice cohesive dough structure that is so unique to wheat. But how we can use wheat in different markets? So those are some of the comments I'm going to make. And my final comment is, let's stay connected. Like programs like you do now in the podcast, we listen each other, and we meet overseas customers with the activities with US Wheat Associates, and we work together from wheat farmer to researcher to seller, and even traders. So staying connected is also one of my suggestions. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Dr. Simsek. We appreciate your time today and the information that you've shared. Like you said earlier, this could be an hours long conversation. So perhaps maybe in the future we could pick a topic and focus on that and talk with you more about your knowledge and wisdom about wheat health, wheat nutrition, scientific research, the evolution of wheat-based products, and kind of what you see coming in the future. So we appreciate again your time today, and thank you for joining us.
Look, sorry, I don't know why I said look. We can edit this part out. So Ryan, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk with my favorite crop. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And for everybody joining today, just a reminder that we will post this podcast up on our website, as well as our YouTube and Spotify channel. So look for that coming out here in the next day or two. And then we look forward to seeing you all right back here for our next From the Field.